There we go. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this part of our CSR and EDI series of the year. If you've been watching back some of the recordings, you'll see that we've been inviting many different CSR champions to come and have a chat with us and tell us a little bit more about what they're doing and give us an insight into their roles. And we're finding that a lot of members are finding that really insightful. Just before we came onto the call today, I was just talking to Jack, Deb, and Sarah just to say that we are kind of in an era where we're all trying to look and find things where we can become experts, or we can share our passion and our experience within our organisations. I think the role has so many different facets to it. Some people might be particularly interested in AI, but others might be particularly interested in giving back to the community and rallying around everyone within their offices, or perhaps focusing on sustainability, for example. And that's why these sessions are really important. I'm very grateful to Sarah and Monique, who are on the call today, who are part of our CSR committee, who have arranged this. So thank you so much. Really looking forward to hearing from our speakers. They are naturally, like everyone who comes onto one of these calls says, oh my God, I don't want to talk in front of everybody. But as usual, as a community, we G everybody on, and we love to hear everyone's stories. So thank you so much, Jack and Debra, for coming on. Unfortunately, Chelsea can't be with us today, but we will be inviting her onto another session. So without further ado, I will introduce the wonderful Sarah James, who's going to be leading this session today. So thank you so much, Sarah. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think what's really exciting about very much the CSR sessions that we've had and what we've got coming up today is about just finding out more about our members. Now, we all know that they're busy business support professionals. They've all got lots of things going on in the office and kind of champion things within their organisations. But what I was delighted when Deb's and Jack's kind of agreed to join this session was about their passions and enthusiasms for volunteering and their CSR activities outside the role and outside of the company. So yeah, I'm going to kind of introduce our speakers. So we've got the lovely Deb Farmer, who is executive assistant and lead to the leadership to the team at Druck Limited. And we've got Jack Kennedy Smith, who is the office manager and PA at SCC in Manchester. So welcome both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant. What we're going to do, we've got some questions and things just to find out a little bit more about themselves, their involvement in the charities and the community kind of events that they do. And we'll kind of spend some time having a chat with each of them individually, and then we've got some kind of joint questions and things at the end, and then an opportunity to open the floor and take any questions from the team. So Deb, I'm going to come to you first, if that's okay, because I can see you proudly promoting Heartwize behind you, which is really good. Not that we're prepared. Yeah, so yeah, we're covering both sides, so it's all brilliant. So Deb, tell us a little bit more about kind of where the opportunity came about and promoting actual Heartwize, and a little bit more about the charity, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So basically the inspiration came from working and collaborating with a local Bradgate Rotary Club. So I'm based in Groby, a lovely little village out sort of North Leicestershire way. And the Rotary Club are very active, like they all are all across the world, really. And I was approached through them, through a partnership they'd already made with Heartwize. And Heartwize is a UK registered charity that basically promotes life-saving skills to, at that point, just school children in the sort of Leicestershire area. So they taught sort of year 10 young children and how to perform CPR, how to use an AED, an automated external defibrillator, and basically have the confidence to do that. You know, those sort of AEDs, which I have a little handy prop with me today.
Brilliant.
Are kind of scary looking pieces of equipment, and of course they blast out a big electric shock, but it's to demystify that and provide a 1 hour sort of training session. So Doug Skian, who is an ex-cardio surgeon who basically knows the heart inside out, and Professor Bill Toff from Leicester Uni came together and recognised that there was a massive shortage in the willingness and ability for people of the public just to even get involved. Basically, about 8% of the UK's population have the confidence and the wherewithal to actually think, I can do this, I can perform CPR and essentially save people's lives. So, and that is also very close to my heart, excuse the pun. My dad had multiple heart attacks and double, triple heart bypass surgery, and was actually on the heart transplant list, and he died before he got one. He never got one in time. So an offshoot to this is put yourself down on the donor register for one. I know you're auto-enrolled for that, but have a conversation with your family about that firstly. But then having a loved one sort of die of a heart condition, when I got to hear about Heartwize, I was like, yes, let's get involved. And Heartwize hadn't collaborated with a company before. They spread their tendrils of knowledge out to schools, but had never kind of gotten involved with a company. So that's my long-winded answer to the inspiration of getting involved.
Yeah, but I think it's quite nice, and I think it's having that kind of personal story and that kind of commitment and passion, that it's nice to then be able to kind of share that with others and kind of get involved.
Yeah.
So okay, so we know that a little bit more about the story. Then how have we kind of gone about with Heartwize and actually building that into like the relationship that you've got with Druck and the company, and kind of doing that?
Yeah, so yes, I'm an executive assistant, and that's my foremost role, and supporting our vice president and his leadership team. But when I came for the interview sort of 3 years ago, and because we're based in such a little village, which is a bit odd for a company of our size and who we sell to across the world, that making connections with the local community and having a volunteer lead was of utmost importance to my vice president as well. So that was always part of the role. So I'm the volunteering lead here. We have multiple sort of employee resource groups, we call them. So there's one for enabled, there's a pride, there's a black ethnic network, there's all sorts of different ones. So volunteering is important. And so when I sort of broached this to Gordon, the Heartwize collaboration, he was absolutely, no brainer. If we can, train our staff, and we've got about we've got about 800 staff worldwide, but there's about 350 kind of on site that work on site here. And to date, I've trained with the help of sort of Druck volunteers out of my volunteering group. We've trained 239 staff so far. And the idea is that they go home, they have a conversation with their loved ones and say, although they can't provide training to their loved ones, they can signpost them to the British Heart Foundation's website, just go and sort of find out more about CPR and life-saving. And it kind of extends those tendrils of knowledge out to the far-reaching community, which is what the volunteering is all about here at Druck. So, and I guess the memorable story would be that we appeared on BBC Local News, sort of, it's September 23 now, spreading the word of the CPR and life-saving skills, because I think there is a CPR sort of day or week of the year where they do try and encourage people to kind of upskill. So it was just a no-brainer for Druck. And for Heartwize, we acted like a bit of a blueprint company, that they'd never worked with a company before, and they were delighted with the collaboration that we made. And everybody at work, from our operations leaders, our people leaders, and the people on the shop floor, we're a manufacturing organisation, they were all up for it, So it was a really good, easy win.
Yeah, that's great to have that kind of that engagement, and like you say, it's having the leadership at Druck actually acknowledging that and saying, this is a great campaign to kind of get involved in, but then having such a massive response from the team as well, to actually want to show that willingness to train up as well and kind of get involved in the whole campaign. So that's brilliant. Do you get involved in kind of going out to the schools and things as well and doing the training, or helping to kind of generate more training sessions sessions?
Yeah, I mean, all of our volunteers, obviously, we've all got day jobs, and that takes sort of precedent, and that's the juggle sometimes. But yeah, any of the Heartwize trained volunteers we've got, including myself, can go out to the schools and support Heartwize with their schools programme. But we have also made a collaboration with Loughborough Uni and their sports science students, and we'd sort of done a cohort of their students last September. So that will come round again sort of this September. And a local school in our vicinity is having like a bit of a school open day, or like a sports day type thing, where they have lots of fun activities, and they wanted Heartwize and Druck to come along and just do some fun games with the kids and see how, you know, if they could do a really good sort of CPR compression and get involved. So yeah, and that is really nice, because like all executive assistants, we're chained to our desks sometimes, or running between meeting rooms and making sure that they're all running swiftly. So to actually get away from the desk and do something completely different is great, and that's what volunteering sort of gives me and the volunteering team. It's a real payback emotionally, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it's that opportunity to get out in the community, like you say, to spread that kind of awareness. And it's kind of starting small and then kind of building on those projects. And like you say, you've still got day jobs and things to do as well. So it's getting that momentum. So challenges, you know, kind of challenges that you might face around kind of spreading that awareness and getting people involved. I know it's great that you've got so many employees at Druck that have kind of done that, but how do you kind of overcome some of those barriers? Because I think volunteering and getting people involved is one of the biggest challenge that lots of people get when they organise something within their companies and businesses.
It is a challenge, but do you know what? The culture at Druck is really positive. Everybody's got, you know, the best intention for Druck, and we all swim in the same direction, and they're quite open to sort of new opportunities. I mean, as well as the Heartwize programme, I do lots of other sort of volunteering activities as well, and I try and mix in some fun ones. So we've done a canal waterways cleanup with Leicestershire County Council's environmental team. So we're all on these, I can't remember what the boat's called now. They're like two canoes that are strapped together, and we're, you know, with these big sort of hooked sticks, we're pulling out all sorts of things: shopping trolleys, blooming baskets, plastic witch brooms, you name it. We pulled it out the canal. So doing something outdoorsy and fun, you know, as well as fundraising and crikey, what else we got involved in? Local litter picking in the local area, that kind of stuff. Then people are more amenable to that, and as long as it's not too pressing on the company, so if it's an hour or a 2 hour maximum kind of period of time, then that works. But I think it works, like I say, go back to culture, that you know, our top boss is very positive about anything volunteering, and that all just feeds down through every level of management. So if a member of staff asks for the time off, they generally get it, as long as it's not business critical. So I think for any organisation, try and, you know, we're the closest ones to our bosses, try and sort of sell the positives to them, that they've got a happier workforce that can get involved in all sorts of different things during their day, makes, you know, sort of people stay at their employer longer. So I think it's a win-win all round.
Yeah, and it seems to be a real sense of community. So those kind of the community activities, and as we've talked on different sessions, there's different pillars of like the CSR, but having that community of, like, you know, clear up programs, you know, doing the litter picking, doing the canal kind of clearing up, there's a real sense of a community, that taking that emphasis of the community at work and being able to actually apply it to some volunteering things is really good. So I know you've kind of touched on kind of balancing your role at Druck with the volunteering, and I'm sure, as we know, when we start off any of these projects and events, it can be quite time consuming, and like, how do I make sure that I'm actually still having that dedicated time to kind of my day job, but also being able to support the actual charity? So how have you done that? Any tips and hints that we can take away?
I think, well, like we do for our bosses, block some time out in your diary. I think it'll always take longer to set something up than you ever anticipate. I constantly apologise to my boss Gordon and said, this is like swallowing up most of my week to get Heartwize set up. You know, I had to go and speak to several people around site. I went and joined their staff meetings, sort of in their different areas. So it did take a lot, but then once you get into your groove, and I've set up a spreadsheet and people just pop their names on and, you know, put their name down for a certain session, then it kind of runs itself and you've just got an overlook. So yeah, I think it's just we're good time planners. I think we just have to listen to ourselves and plan in the time, really.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, brilliant. So if someone wants to actually get involved in kind of schemes like this, or I don't know what kind of area, I know you've talked about Leicestershire being kind of predominantly where you're focusing from Heartwize's point of view, but how can people get involved potentially and promoting these kind of life-saving skills, and what's those kind of first steps that people could do?
I mean, if you are in the Leicestershire area, I think Heartwize are a small charity and they run off the donations that they're provided. I'm lucky that our owner, Baker Hughes, basically granted them a big chunk of money to extend the way that they work and collaborate with businesses. So essentially, Heartwize don't charge for their sessions. You can reach out to Julie from Heartwize, and I can put information in the chat. But it's heartwize@heartwize.org is the website. Sorry, and it's www.heartwize.org to reach out to them. But if you're not based in sort of Leicestershire, and I think they'd be prepared to go out to the West Midlands, but I don't know how far, then you can always go online, search up the British Heart Foundation. You can they basically suggest that you can learn CPR in 15 minutes with a cushion at home, and they kind of, I think, online run through how you might use an AED and how you might call the emergency services and in what order to do it. So I think if people wanted to do like a little bit of we call them watch parties, you know, when you all come together, you can put the sort of British Heart Foundation information on a screen and just try and get all of your work team or your family at home together and have some fun whilst doing something quite serious and could sort of save somebody's life. So I think those would be the ways I'd try and sort of reach out and at least bring CPR into a bit of an everyday conversation. Or if you have newsletters that go out to your organisations, have like a little article in there that signposts people in their own time to go and do some sort of CPR training. That's how I'd tackle it.
That's great. I'm actually currently writing the newsletter for this month, so I'm going to include that in my newsletter. But it's a great idea, isn't it, to actually, we talk about getting people into the office, but this is a little opportunity, like you say, a 15-minute video, getting that advice from the British Heart Foundation, being able to kind of raise that awareness and do something to actually give a bit of upskilling and knowledge to the team. So that's brilliant. So my last question, Debs, what has been the most rewarding part of kind of collaborating and working with Heartwize?
I think because I get to speak to people and network with people I wouldn't ordinarily do so. You know, yes, I see managers come and go, and I'm always, you know, organising meetings and I see sort of people at work, but to work with them closely is quite good. And you never know when you sort of stretch your network where that might lead and you know, sort of have different conversations. And I guess just the feeling that you've gifted somebody with the confidence and the capability to give it a go. You know, you can't go wrong with CPR. You know, people worry whereabouts I've got to sort of press on the chest. But if you know the kind of the life-saving sort of easy points to remember, you know, just to gift that knowledge to somebody, and then we'll be starting some refresher training, I think, this September, just to keep that knowledge always at the forefront of the mind, then that for me does it all, you know.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And yeah, congratulations for kind of all your involvement in that and kind of champion everything to do with Heartwize as well. So yeah, well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So Jax, gonna have a chat with you now.
Yes.
So
Go on. Sorry.
okay.
I was just going to say apologies. I have got a bit of a gruff throat, so if my mouth's drying out, it's because I'm starting with something. Hopefully not what Chelsea has, but there's definitely something lurking. So apologies. And Debs, can I just say that was very good and very. It flowed very well. If I'm a little bit here, there, and everywhere, it's because I'm looking at all my notes, because that's pretty much how my head works. I have many tabs open at the same time, so I am a little bit scatty. And even though I am a PA, office manager, and receptionist, and a lot of other things, I do get the job done, but I think I go about it probably in a different way to what other people do. So you might be like, wow, you might need to go and get a cup of tea after my session because it won't flow the same. But anyway, hi.
Hi. Well, do you know what? That's kind of those organisation tips and kind of those skills. And it's like, if you don't have those notes and you haven't got those kind of notebooks or those directions, then things get forgotten, don't they? So that's great ideas of kind of planning. So that's absolutely fine. I was thinking about this earlier. Luckily my children are a little bit older now, so the summer fates and PTAs and all of that kind of involvement, yes. I managed to avoid it while the children were going through schooling, and now I just see kind of like the Facebook posts of various different school fates. But you've been brave enough to actually take on the role of getting involved with a PTA, which hats off. So how did that come about?
Well, obviously, when my son started school, it was actually the head of the PTA lived 2 doors down from me. Oh. And she helped us get my son a place because we bought a house that was 3 minutes walk from the school, moved my accents a little bit, because a bit of a hybrid, because I'm actually from North Yorkshire, but we've moved from Teesside to Manchester. And we bought this house saying our son will be in that school. And we didn't get in. We got a school around the corner. So anyway, she was chatting, and then actually one of the other PTAs lives opposite, and now another PTA lives next door. So our cul-de-sac is heavily run and heavily housed by PTA people. So it was just a natural progression into that team, because they all soon clocked on to how creative I was. So like, Jack will know what to do with this. Oh, do you want to wrap these Easter hampers? Do you want to do this? And I was like, anything creative, I'm in. I don't want to sit on the board and make important decisions, but I will contribute where I can. So that's kind of what led me to being on the PTA.
And I think that's quite different, is it? Like with a PTA, which is very different to an organisation. When a company or organisation are recruiting, it's like, right, actually, we need some salespeople, we need some marketing people, we need people that are going to be kind of our admin and support. So you kind of recruit what you need. Whereas a PTA, you've got to love them all, but they're all volunteers that are kind of all very unique and very different. So that can be almost a challenge in itself to actually find your role and purpose within the actual role. So like you say, so you're head of creativity, are you, in the PTA?
Pretty much anything crafty, I'm there.
So are you planning a big is there like a big summer kind of
summer
event
fair,
going on?
But because it's my son's last year, so it will be no more, sadly. So it's just a case of helping out on craft stalls, because I don't do the budgeting side. My next door neighbour who works for HMRC, she does all the finances, so it's just a case of being present, helping out with the stalls, cleaning up. You don't have to feel like you have a main talent or whatever it is. You can contribute in other ways, and just showing up and being a person, even if it is stacking chairs, sweeping floors, it can be the most basic of things. You're still contributing and helping out towards your kids skills. So I do enjoy it.
So bringing like people together, so how often do you kind of meet as a group? I suppose it depends when there's events and things happening, but what is the kind of commitment levels for being like a member of a PTA?
So it varies, because obviously the people that are the main sort of chair in the group lead, they do I think it's monthly team calls, and they try and do a one-to-one. Like, they're really good at saying, do you know what, on Thursday night at 7 o'clock we're going to do our meeting in the pub. So if you do get time, it is a case of they try and sort of take it away from school and do that. So we do team calls, but I mean, now that we've got a Instagram page, we've got the WhatsApp group, so that it's here, there and everywhere. So it depends on what events are up and coming as to how often those meetings will obviously need to increase closer to event, because it's like, right, we need to fine tune, you volunteered X, Y and Z, what's the budget for this? And then so it can vary, but it's usually definitely a monthly one, and then you have your bigger ones where they'll run through the full report, what funds are left, what we're aiming. I don't know, one year it was, what do you call them, like a trim tree trail. It's hard to say it, like that kind of thing. We're trying to get raise money for a sensory room in the school as well. So it can vary, but you tend to have monthly, and then it'll increase as and when around events.
Yeah, because I think that's the important thing, that the PTA is not just there for parents to kind of get involved and have fun, that there's a purpose. That is about raising funds for a particular resource that the school might be looking for, or equipment that they might need. And that's really important, that actually you're accountable for raising all the money and things at the different events that you do.
Yeah.
So you've touched on the pub's the best place for getting the ideas sharing and things as well, and being creative. But what other, how do you come up with like the events and plans? Is that very much governed by what the school's kind of requirements and what they do?
There are restrictions, because clearly it's a school and things like that, but the ones they always have like school discos. There'll be themed ones. Obviously, if it's end of term, we've got the Leavers, year 6 Leavers event, so that's going to be a disco that's sort of after school on the Friday, I think it is. So yeah, you do have restrictions, but we've actually got a new head, and she's a bit more flexible, shall we say, to the previous head, who he was great, and he'd been there for something daft like 30 years, but there's a lot more, how can I put it? Yeah, she's a lot more flexible, and we can approach her with suggestions that we might have had pushed back before. So it's a combination. Obviously, the school, like I said, yes, there's definitely restrictions, but it's the PTA that will come together and say, right, we need to raise money for this, that, or we're doing a summer fair or Christmas fair. What should we do? And it's just a case of looking at what worked well. Chocolate tombola is insane. That has people lining up. The other one is the bottles. They get the kids to bring a bottle. Could be a bottle of ketchup, could be a bottle of Prosecco, it could be a bottle of wine, a bottle of vinegar, crazy things. And that is another one that is very, very busy and makes a lot of money on the PTA stall.
I'll tell you why. One of the PTA events that I went to, the school had brought out the old broken toilets, and they'd lent them up against the wall, and the children were then chucking toilet rolls into them.
Oh,
so it's just little crazy things that they find to do, but it's quite entertaining. So how many people are on a PTA? Like how many students are at the school, I suppose, is like roughly.
So students, apologies, these are all questions that aren't on any of mine.
No, sorry. I'm going off cuff.
This is what, think fast. So in the school, it's 75 for the year group. Sorry, for year 6, but in the school, that's a very good question.
Yeah, there's probably about 5 year groups, is there?
So several hundred. So it is quite a big school. I went to a tiny school, very, very different. And I never had that junior, what is it? Infants, junior, senior, to me, it was just a primary school. So, I suppose, I don't know if that's a big school for Manchester or not.
So and how many's on the PTA?
On the PTA, oh God, I would say helpers, probably more than a dozen. Yeah. But the main ones, you've got like the person who chairs it, the group, and this is where you've got people who they look after, you know, the accounts. So you've got a handful that are sort of in set positions, if you like, but then you've got a dozen or so that are volunteers. But we're very flexible in that when we promote, because obviously you're going to have a load of year 6 parents leaving. When you're trying to recruit others, it's very much only contribute as and when. There is no pressure. So at the different fairs that we've ran, I remember I had a mum. They were new to the area, chatting on the craft store while the kids are, you know, doing the things, and she was like, "Oh, I'd really like to get involved." So it's very, numbers can change because you can be as involved as you want to be, or just dip your toe in here and there, which I think no pressure is what you need as a working busy mum.
Yeah, definitely. So you're stepping away? Are you stepping away in?
Well, yeah, because you kind of have to when your child leaves, because you need to make way for the fresher mums who are less haggard that have been doing it all.
They've got all these new ideas and enthusiastic.
New ideas, fresh faces. So it's just kind of the norm that you can get to do 6 years and then you sort of step down when your kid moves to high school.
Okay, that's brilliant. So what do you think has been the most successful kind of event that you've run and been part of, and why did it work so well?
So with the PTA, I would say it was definitely the well, apart from the fairs that are really good, like I said, because I've got lots of different stalls. That's where you can make a lot of money because of the footfall and things. Like last year, we'd literally sold out within something daft like an hour or an hour and a half, and it's like, oh my god, we need more again. You know, each year these stalls are getting busier and busier. But the other thing that I sort of the creative side took on was the trails. So I think it originally started out of COVID, out of lockdown, when people were doing it nationally, the Halloween trails. And then from there, I don't know if other people have heard about them. So I would each term choose something. So you'd have a Christmas themed, a Halloween, Easter, and so on. And you basically, I created the full things where it was images that people would stick in their windows and map it out so that in the holidays, it gets the kids out and about, because sometimes, you know, all it cost you was a donation to the school for the activity sheets. So it would get you out and about, get some fresh air, and there's different things on there. One time I would do it as a word search, so each house would have a letter. You know, you'd obviously have to work it out. It might be things that you'd have, like Halloween, count how many ghosts are at, you know, 5 Beverly Avenue or whatever it may be. And so they seem to work because we've done them every year and every sort of term, and you can change it and, you know, mix it up a bit. So I definitely think that was a success for the PTA. In terms of work wise, I think we did a sports day here. That's right. It was health and safety. It was all in the office. We made sure people weren't running around, but we had various stations. We made people team captains. We brought the departments together. People had to put forward whether they were doing the hoop toss, the bean bag, you know, all these sort of things. And it was a chance for people to integrate, because some of the teams didn't really know each other, and have a bit of fun at work, which breaks up the day.
No, yeah, definitely. It's a really good idea. Well, yeah, thank you. See, I told you it would fly by.
Yeah.
And that was really actually quite insightful. I think Karen, who's also on the call, is heavily involved with kind of a PTA at her children's school and things as well. So I bet she's pinched some of the ideas that she's going to take away to the committee member. So that's really great. So I've got a couple of questions just to kind of finish off for both of you. So Jax, if I stay with you first. So what advice would you give to someone looking to start volunteering and doesn't really know where to begin? And I suppose that's kind of getting involved in work as well as being kind of like
so well, in work, I would say if you have a CSR team already, go to them, reach out. If you have D&I groups, which we have 6, again, reach out to those team leads saying, what are you covering? is there anything I can help with? Again, see what skill sets are needed, because you may be able to dip your toe into those things. And again, something might not actually be for you, but just reach out to as many people as you can and basically say, I'm here to help if needed. And I would say, again, with the PTA, speak to the mums. I mean, we all know that, you know, stood at the school gate, excuse me, or even if you don't have time for that and it's a breakfast club drop off and a, you know, pick up, speak to the teachers and ask them, and they'll direct you, because our PTA are so well known in our school because of what they do and how they contribute. People know those names, and if you live somewhere like I do, again, just that word of mouth and presence, and, you know, just grab someone and say, I'm interested, how can I join, what can I do?
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I'm going to stick with you this one, because I think it's quite evident from just chatting to you, like some of the actual effects that it's had from your volunteering. But how has your volunteering kind of changed your perspective on your professional and personal life?
Well, sometimes I think I do take on, try to do everything, and I can't do everything, but I am that kind of person. So a lot of it I do go above and beyond, and it's in my own time. So at work, any CSR initiative that we're doing, I do take on a lot at home to make it happen, because I want it to happen. I realise, as Debs was saying, we don't have a lot of time within work. Everyone's busy. So you do have to be willing to go above and beyond, which I am. But in work, sorry, tell me the question. Say the question.
Yeah, it's about how the volunteering's actually changed your perspective.
How it's changed.
Yeah.
Well, to positive and negative, those who care really pull together and really make a difference. And the other flip side to that is you will always have a mood hoover in every group. So you cannot please everyone. And I was such a people pleaser, and I used to take it to heart. Why aren't they getting involved? And why aren't they? And, you know, it used to annoy me. And I've learned over the years, it's not for me to make, you can't force people to do things, but yeah, just be prepared. When you find those good ones, when you find the positives and the doers, dig your claws into them and strap them to the seat and tell them they can't leave. because you need those people to make it work. So yeah, trying to find the balance with work, and so it can be challenging at times.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with that. And then if you could inspire attendees that are on the call or watching back, what's one of those key messages that you'd like them to take away from your kind of talk?
Give something a go. Put yourself out there, because you'll never know until you try. So if you start there thinking, oh, I'd love to do this, or I'd love to do that, well, then do it. Again, you're going to have time challenges, all these various things, but just put yourself out there first and see. You never know where it takes you, because I had no idea how involved I would be in all the different groups that I am, and I love it, absolutely love it.
Okay, yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you.
No
and
worries.
just to kind of just finish off, I've got those kind of questions for Deb. So Debs, how has volunteering kind of changed your perspective, both professionally and personally, do you think?
I think, going off from what Jax has said, put yourself sort of out of your comfort zone, and you'll be absolutely amazed with what you can do yourself. You know, I've never sort of spoken in front of a room, and let alone taught CPR training to a bunch of managers at different levels, to, you know, factory floor staff and everybody else in between. And I absolutely bricked it for the first few sessions. But then, you know, I surprised myself thinking, wow, I can do that, and I'm not worrying about it, and it is what it is, and I can't tell my face to stop going red. That's my issue. My face goes, she's nervous, look everybody, you can see it. And I just thought, do you know what, sod it, just go with it. So it's made me actually, yeah, just be a little bit more risky in things that I do moving forward. So I think it's only positive, like you say, Jacqueline. If you don't put yourself out there, get involved, you'll never know what you can do.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much, both of you, for kind of sharing your insight, you're sharing your knowledge, and just championing what you're doing. It's been really lovely being able to hear from you both. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I would just say a couple of things that I picked up on. Thank you so much for saying, because I think sometimes when you run an organisation where you rely on volunteers, is that it is, please absolutely put yourself forward, because sometimes we think to ourselves, oh, we always feel like we don't want to burden everybody or put lots of pressure on different people because we're all so busy. The more people that offer to help, the better, and it just relieves the strain and the stress. And I think sometimes, I mean, for example, we have our committees, and I'm so grateful to them. But sometimes, even if you just at an event and you just think to yourself, you know, do you want to help me just welcome people? Because I mean, there's so many times when people turn up on their own, and I feel people come up, they're naturally, for example, drawn to me, and because I'm so busy, I don't have time to really give them the attention that I really want to when I'm at an event. Just trying to welcome people or just make them feel welcome or comfortable. If you see anyone standing on their own, have a chat with them. You know, that anything like that just really helps. Or if you see any of our committee members on the day and just be like, do you need, can I help you with anything? Is there anything that I can help you with? Please just jump in and just be like, all hands on deck. Let's just have it. No, let's try it, because it's really difficult to ask. And if you ask any of our committee members, they'll say to me, always, if they decide after a certain amount of time perhaps they're going to leave, I'll say, have you got any feedback for me? And they always say, you just don't let go of stuff, do you? And I'm like, give us stuff to do. And I'm like, yes, I think I'm getting much better at that, but I don't like to burden people. I don't like to put stuff on them. So I think for us, volunteers are absolutely essential. And I think exactly what you said, Debs, stepping outside your comfort zone. You know, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I'm the only network leader in the whole of the UK that's never been a PA. And I suffered so much of imposter syndrome for so many years about, hang on, how have I ended up with this community in this network? But you know, by talking about, last year was the first year, Debs, that I got up on stage at the awards and I didn't have a script, because I thought to myself, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, and I can talk about it from the heart. And just like you said, if you've learned about Heartwize, you're passionate about it, you know, you have that personal story behind it as well. That helps you to be able to relate with a lot of the people that you're talking to. And the same with you, Jack, is if you're at school and your child's part of the school, you instantly feel passionate about that, because you want the school to do well and you want the students to have a great experience. So if you are really passionate about something, absolutely jump off that diving board and get straight in, honestly. It does all work out in the end. It really does. It's just really difficult to start with, and it's quite overwhelming. So thank you for sharing that today.
I was going to say, it'd be very unusual if somebody was putting themselves out there to volunteer and somebody said, no thanks, not today. That would be very, very rare that anyone would turn a volunteer away. So you don't need to have a fear of rejection in any way whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to say, Jackie, I loved your comment, mood hoover.
Yes.
I could up it with a fun sponge.
I think if we could have made ourselves into nodding dogs, I think everyone was just like nodding at that point. We all know a mood hoover in our life, don't we? Do you know what I mean? Inside and outside of work.
Debbie Downers is the other one. Like, stop being such a Debbie Downer. No offense to any Debbie.
Hang on, we got a Debs.
Get her off.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
Right, and also just to say thank you to our volunteers, Sarah, Bethan and Monique as well. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for coming along. If you're watching this recording back, thank you so much. Sarah, do we know what's... is it too much to ask what's next? I don't think we've got that far yet, have I?
We're having a break for summer. School's out for summer, so we're back in September. So keep your eyes peeled for this September.
We'll let you know when we get Chelsea back. But yeah,
is anyone here?
So much.
Sorry, just is anyone here going to the PA conference?
Do you want to stop the recording, Dan?
Oh yeah, I'll stop the recording now. Sorry, just 1 second. Stopping recording now. There we go.